Friends, have you ever had one of those late nights when things fall apart one after another and you look up at the ceiling and a sentence rises in your chest? Is the universe singling me out? If you have, this episode was made for you. But first, as always, let's welcome back last week's question. We ended the last chapter by asking, if something was already here before you were born, before your very first thought today, and it is here, right now, aware of these very words, would you be willing to stop just once this week and turn to meet it? Amy, you carried that question all week. How was your inner weather?
My week was overcast the whole way through, and then one crack of light on Friday evening. I have a confession. I actually wrote "turn and meet it" into my calendar. And then for 5 days straight, I was too busy to keep the appointment. Friday night, I was washing dishes, and the water suddenly ran hot, and in the second I flinched back, it hit me. The one who knew the heat was already there. It never needed an appointment. The one who kept showing up late was me.
Thank you, Amy. The one who kept showing up late was me. I'm keeping that. My weather was thick fog for the first half of the week. I fell into the opposite ditch. I treated turning to meet it as a task to complete, a motion to perform. And the harder I turned, the thicker the fog got. Then on Saturday evening, I was making tea, just watching the steam rise, and something quietly let go. Turning isn't a motion. It's admitting that it has been watching all along. Half the fog lifted right there. The other half, honestly, is still with me this morning. But friends, if you practiced this at all last week, there may have been another sentence rising underneath, a harder one. If it has always been here, why is life still this hard? Why does heaven seem so unmoved by what I'm going through? That question, Lao Tzu answers it head-on in the very first line of chapter 5 of the Tao Te Ching. And the answer is so shocking that for more than 2,000 years, it has unsettled nearly everyone who read it.
Hello and welcome, friends, to the Road to Awakening here on Voice of Heavenly Tao. I'm Leo, and today we step into chapter 5 of the Tao Te Ching.
And I'm Amy. As always, let me first read the whole chapter for us. Mother Nature, Tao, heaven and earth, seems unkind. It treats everything as the straw dog. Saints seem unkind. They treat everyone as straw dog. What goes on between heaven and earth, much like the wind box. When the wind box is not in use, it is hollow and contains nothing, and yet its function is never compromised. And when it is in use, the more it is in motion, the more it generates. Countless words, better to hold your middle.
Thank you, Amy. The whole chapter is only 45 characters in the original, and it may be the most misunderstood chapter in the entire Tao Te Ching. We're going to walk it in 3 parts. Today, only the first line. Mother Nature, Tao, heaven and earth, seems unkind. It treats everything as the straw dog. Saints seem unkind. They treat everyone as a straw dog. Our whole job today is to untangle the enormous misunderstanding packed into that one word, unkind. Next time, the great bellows of heaven and earth, the wind box that is hollow and yet never runs dry. And in the final part, the chapter's landing point, and the most concrete practice instruction in the whole book. Countless words, better to hold your middle.
Leo, then let me say out loud what many listeners must be feeling right now. This line genuinely stings. We grow up hearing that heaven cherishes life, that the universe is somehow on our side. And here is Lao Tzu saying heaven and earth are unkind, and that everything, including us, is a straw dog. What even is a straw dog? It sounds so disposable.
That sting, Amy, is exactly the right place to start. A straw dog was a ritual object in ancient times, a dog woven out of straw for the great ceremonies. Picture it. Before the ceremony, people dressed it in embroidered silk, set it on the altar, bowed to it with complete reverence. And the moment the ceremony ended, it was carried out and left by the roadside. Cartwheels rolled over it. Nobody looked back. One moment, utterly honored. The next, utterly forgotten.
That contrast is brutal, though. Actually, when you describe it that way, a modern version just came to me. The Christmas tree. In December, it's the star of the living room. The whole family gathers around it, hangs the lights, takes photos in front of it. And the first week of January, there it is, lying by the curb with the recycling.
That's it exactly, Amy. That's the very image. Now notice something. Would we say that family was cruel? Of course not. The tree's meaning was fulfilled in its season, and when the season ended, they let it end. When Lao Tzu says heaven and earth treat everything as the straw dog, this is what is meant. Heaven and earth let every being flourish fully in its season, and let it fade when its season closes. Used when needed, released when done. That is not coldness. That is non-attachment. So the word unkind must never be read as without love. What it means is, the love of heaven and earth plays no favorites. One scholar's commentary puts it with surgical precision. Heaven and earth simply follow what is natural. They do not contrive, they do not manufacture. All things grow and complete themselves. The moment kindness becomes deliberate, a favor granted here, a rescue arranged there, it has already fallen into partiality. Friends, consider this. If heaven truly were kind enough to favor one particular flower, to keep it blooming forever, never letting it wilt, what would that flower become?
A flower that never wilts. That's just a plastic flower, isn't it?
A plastic flower, precisely. It never wilts, because it was never truly alive. And look how close to home this lands. The favoring heart, our favoring heart, wants exactly that, to freeze the most beautiful moment and forbid it ever to change. But the instant we freeze it, the living becomes fake. Heaven and earth favor no flower, and that is precisely what lets every flower truly bloom and truly fade. That is the deepest fairness there is. So the elders say, doting is small kindness, completing is great kindness. The unkindness of heaven and earth is not the absence of love. It is love at its most complete. And there's a practice hidden right here, one you can do today. The next time you can't bear for a good season to end, when you want to keep someone or something forever at its best, pause for 1 second and look inward. Who, right now, is trying to turn a living flower into a plastic one? The moment that freezing impulse is seen, the hand loosens by itself. Let it bloom and let it fade. That loosening is heaven and earth's seems unkind, coming alive in your own heart for the first time.
When you put it that way, I think of those autumn streets, how the trees seem to drop all their leaves almost overnight. I always found it bleak. So, even that is part of this unkindness?
It is. The elders have a name for that sharp coolness in the autumn air, the killing breath of autumn. Watch what it does. Through spring and summer, heaven and earth grow everything lush and green. And then autumn arrives, and, without the slightest mercy, the leaves yellow, the grasses wither. It looks ruthless, doesn't it? But if the rice never passed through that autumn chill, it would keep flowering forever and never set a single grain, and no one would eat. If timber never endured the cold snap of autumn, its grain would stay loose, and any furniture made of it would warp. Heaven and earth use the spring wind to birth all things, and the autumn frost to complete them. There's a passage in Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, written half a world away from Lao Tzu, and yet it reads like the same pair of eyes. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. Hear what it is saying. Everything has its season, and the moment of being pulled up is exactly as sacred as the moment of being planted. Friends, the blows in our lives that look most cruel are, so often, the very autumn frost that lets us finally set our grain.
I understand the principle. I really do. But Leo, back in real life, this is the hard gate. When the blow actually lands on your own head, who remembers the word ripening? There's only one sentence left in the mind. Why me?
Yes. Why me?
Friends, let's place that sentence in our open palm and really look at it. Underneath it hides an assumption that heaven is watching this one person and has decided to come after him. But think calmly for a moment. When lightning strikes, does it check who's good and who's bad? When the rainy season floods, does it choose whose roof to leak through? Heaven and earth are simply running their course, the turning of yin and yang, cold going, heat coming. It is our own mind that reads impermanence and writes down persecution.
That phrase, reading impermanence as persecution. Leo, I want to press one layer deeper on behalf of everyone listening. Because what's rising in a listener's mind right now might not be lightning. It might be painfully specific. You pour months into a project at work, and in the end, someone else's name is on the win. You take care of your health, genuinely, and the lab report still comes back wrong. In those moments, why me doesn't stay down.
And that's an honest question, Amy. So let's not push it down. Let's look at it.
Friends, have you ever examined what that wave of grievance is actually made of? It almost always runs the same route. First, there's an expectation. When this project lands, my manager will finally see me. The expectation falls through, and it curdles into grievance. How could he do that? The grievance finds no exit, so it gets hurled at the sky. Even heaven refuses to help me. Look closely. The event happened once, but the play in the mind ran 3 full acts. Heaven and earth harmed no one. What hurts is the 3-act play. And the playwright, so often, is that one expectation that fell through.
And Lao Tzu himself, in chapter 79, left a line that unties exactly this knot. The way of heaven plays no favorites, yet it is always with the good. Heaven's way has no private affections, it favors no one. Then why is it always with the good? Not because it takes their side, but because the good walk with the way, and so they are always found inside it. Just as water flows downhill, it isn't that water loves the low ground, it's that the low ground stands exactly where water is going. Treat the natural world well, and it answers you with mild seasons. Abuse it, and it answers with landslides. That is not revenge. That is response. Heaven and earth keep no ledgers on anyone. We are the ones who read a response and call it a reward or a punishment.
So Lao Tzu isn't saying heaven and earth are cold. He's saying their love is so vast it has no seams in it. So vast it doesn't need to choose anyone. Am I hearing that right?
You are. And that's a beautiful way to say it. Only a love with no chosen object can afford to hold every object. The moment there is choosing, there is leaving out. Precisely because heaven and earth love no one specially, no one has ever been left out. You have never once been left out.
Reading impermanence as persecution. Leo, a story just surfaced that proves this line exactly. I heard it from an elder, a school teacher. One year, a colleague of his had a daughter in her final year of high school, and her math scores sat at the very bottom of the class. The colleague, panicking, wanted to hire a math tutor right away and came to ask his advice. And he told her, "Don't."
Oh? That sounds rather uncompassionate of him.
The colleague thought so too, but he gave 3 reasons. First, it's the final year. With scores that low and only months left, who can promise a resurrection? Second, the daughter had already built her own steady review rhythm. Parachuting a tutor into the middle of it would wreck the whole structure. And third, he said, heaven arranges things in ways we can't see. Her math is weak, but her other subjects can still climb. And maybe, just maybe, this exact shape of scores will carry her into the program she actually longs for. When the results came out, she got into the very program she'd wanted most. The colleague said afterward, "Thank goodness I wasn't kind back then."
Thank you, Amy. That story brings Saints Seem Unkind fully to life. Look at that elder. In the moment, he seems cold. He won't step in, won't add more pressure, won't mount a rescue. But it isn't that he doesn't love. He refuses to use his own anxiety to trample the rhythm of another person's life. That is Lao Tzu's second sentence. Saints seem unkind. They treat everyone as straw dog. The saints model themselves on heaven and earth. They love every single person, yet favor no one in particular. They complete everyone, yet hold no one hostage with private affection. They respect each life's own unfolding, its own causes bearing their own fruit, and they do not shove their hands into it.
Hearing this, I can't help thinking of how we are at home. As parents, as managers, how often does one sentence, "It's for your own good," become the hand we shove into someone else's life?
So often, and in the moment, we usually mean it. That's exactly what makes this line precious. It asks us, right before we reach in, to stop for 1 second and ask, this time, am I completing them, or am I soothing my own anxiety? The first is great kindness. The second is very often just control, wearing love's name tag. Saints seem unkind. They are willing to set down even the name for your own good. There's a line in the Doctrine of the Mean that describes heaven's actual method with startling precision. Heaven, in giving birth to all things, is generous to each according to its nature. The standing it nourishes, the toppling it lets fall. Hear the tenderness and the severity together. Heaven's generosity is not shielding anyone from their fate. It is honoring each life's own causes and its own seasons. The toppling it lets fall. Those words read cold. But read them once more. Letting what must fall, fall. The space it opens, the nourishment it becomes. That is exactly the next generation's spring. There's an old story about a king who lamented that he could not live forever and reign forever. The wise counselor beside him answered with one sentence, "If the kings before you had never died, how would the throne ever have come round to you?" The story cuts because the counselor chose the one seat people find hardest to release, a throne, to expose the wish in all of us to occupy forever. Friends, each of us keeps a little throne we can't bear to yield. Maybe the indispensable role on the team. Maybe the seat of most important person in a child's heart. Maybe just a golden stretch of life we refuse to let turn its page. So the homework hidden in the toppling it lets fall is this. The moment you catch yourself gripping that seat, gently ask, if nothing were ever allowed to change hands, where would the next spring come in? One question, and the grip loosens by a degree. And that loosened degree is
letting what must fall, fall, carried all the way into your own heart.
That story is funny and devastating at the same time. Fading looks like pure sorrow, and yet at the very same moment, it's making room for someone else.
Let me pause us here for one breath. If Lao Tzu's seems unkind felt warm to you today for the very first time, then we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel, Voice of Heavenly Tao, and share the road to awakening with one friend who has been muttering lately that life is unfair. Your one share might be the very second they lift their head and see a different sky. All right, let's continue. Because now we walk into the deepest chamber of this line. Amy, when we say saints, who comes to mind first?
Yao, Shun, Lao Tzu, Confucius, the sage kings, and the great teachers of history, I suppose.
Yes, and that's the first reading. It isn't wrong. But in the reading of inner cultivation, there is a layer much closer to home. The saint also points to something inside you, the unborn, undying original nature, the clear awareness that has been quietly present this whole hour. The elders put it directly. To walk this path is to awaken that inner saint and let it, not the senses, not the moods, preside over how we see, hear, speak, and move.
The saint within. Then what about the treat everyone as straw dog part? Don't tell me we have everyone inside us too.
We do. The 100 thoughts of the mind are the everyone within. Have you ever watched it? In a single day, how many thoughts come and go through the heart? A grasping thought, a resentful thought, a fearful thought, an aggrieved thought, a proud thought. One after another, each reporting to awareness like citizens before the court. And how does awareness receive them? Exactly as heaven and earth receive the straw dogs. A thought comes, it knows. The thought leaves, it does not detain it. It signs no treaty with any thought and declares no war on any thought. A good thought arrives, it doesn't love it extra. A dark thought arrives, it doesn't hate it extra. It is simply, completely clear. And friends, right here is the most precious gift in this line. Think back over your week. When the grievance rose, was there something that knew grievance is here? When why me was shouting in your chest, was there something that heard the shout in perfect stillness? The one that knew, the one that heard, did it burn along with the grievance? It did not. It is like the sky. Clouds arrive, the sky does not become a cloud. A whole day of black overcast, and the sky has not been dirtied by a single inch of it.
Hearing this, something in me just went quiet. So this seems unkind, followed all the way down, was never about the weather up there. It's that in my own heart, there has always been a sky like that.
Let me add one more brushstroke to that sky. A monk once asked an old master, "What is the Buddha Dharma?" The master answered with 6 words: big stones big, small stones small.
Big stones big, small stones small. That's it?
That's it. The way doesn't resent the big stone for taking up room and doesn't overlook the small stone for being plain. The big are allowed to be big, the small are allowed to be small. Each sits in its place, each complete in its own beauty. And notice, our suffering usually runs exactly opposite. We see ourselves as the small stone and resent the sky. We see someone else as the big stone and cannot rest. But the awareness inside you was never like that. It has always been like that old master's heart. It illuminates the big and illuminates the small, and never once uses big or small to rank anyone's worth. And there is one more old scene.
from the Tang dynasty that paints this sky most beautifully of all. Master Yaoshan was walking the mountain with his students when they passed two trees, one lush and green, one withered to the bone. The master asked his student Daowu, "Which is right, the flourishing one or the withered one?" Daowu said, "The flourishing one." He asked another student, Yunyan, and Yunyan said, "The withered one." Just then, a young novice happened by, and the master asked him too. The novice said, "Let the flourishing flourish, let the withered wither."
Friends, listen to that. Let the flourishing flourish, let the withered wither.
The novice isn't indifferent, he is non-interfering. Not a cold eye, a deep bow to each life's own season. Lushness has its own dignity, withering has its own lesson. In that moment, what filled the novice's heart was a small patch of heaven and earth's seems unkind, adding not 1 ounce of cheering, not 1 ounce of mourning, letting all things be exactly as they are.
But Leo, one more push on everyone's behalf. The principle is all clear now. The next time a real blow lands, what exactly do we practice? We can't just tell ourselves, "Be the sky," and call it done, can we?
A very good question. And the practice is only 3 small steps, less than 1 minute altogether. Step 1. See it. When "why me" pops up, don't debate it. Just place one soft label on it. The victim thought has arrived. The instant you label it, it steps down from iron truth back to one thought. Step 2. Don't judge yourself. Don't pile on with, "How am I still thinking this way?" Because that scolding is just another thought running. Seeing is already enough. Step 3. Gently ask one question. Right now, what was actually wounded? The event itself or the expectation I was carrying? Friends, this question isn't fishing for an answer. It's opening a window for light. The moment an expectation is seen, half its force drains away. And the one who can see the expectation has never once been wounded.
The one who can see the expectation has never once been wounded. I'm taking that home. But Leo, the hardest of the 3 must be the middle one. Don't judge, don't follow. The thought feels so real. The grievance feels so real. How can we just not respond?
Amy has touched the true gate. Don't respond. Don't cling. You're right. It cannot be done by giving the mind an order. Stop clinging. The grip of self is too strong for that. We keep taking what's in front of us as solid and permanent. The real entry point is quieter. In daily life, keep observing one simple fact. Everything in front of you arose from conditions coming together. Conditions gather, and a thing is born. Conditions scatter, and it dissolves. Nothing holds its form forever. The situation that wronged you is like this, and the grievance itself is like this too. It arose, so it will pass. Watch this long enough, and a quiet understanding grows in the chest. If it's all like mist taking shape and thinning out, why grab it? And then, not responding stops being a clenched endurance. It happens on its own. The grievance comes, like an autumn wind crossing the treetops. You hear it, you watch it, you let it pass through. Ferry one thought across, and it is like ferrying one being to the far shore. And when every thought has been ferried, that unborn, undying sky is yours, whole.
Ferry one thought across, and it is like ferrying one being. So the practice was never far away. It's right at the doorway where each thought comes and goes.
So here is where today's walk has brought us.
We untied the great misunderstanding around seems unkind. Not heartless, but a vast love that plays no favorites. And we carried "Saints seem unkind" all the way inside. The saint was never far away. It is the awareness in you that signs no treaty with any thought. Next time, Lao Tzu picks up an image you would never expect to show us why this heaven and earth can never, ever run dry. What goes on between heaven and earth, much like the wind box? The whole universe, like a blacksmith's bellows. And the handle of that bellows is somewhere on you. Before we go, as always, I'll leave one question with you. Carry it through this week. No need to answer quickly. No need to answer it for anyone. Let it steep. The last time you felt, "Heaven is being unfair to me." In that moment, what was actually wounded? The event itself, or the expectation in your heart? And the one who could see that expectation, who is that?
As soon as I heard the question, that one memory floated up on its own. This week, we'll all be carrying it.
If this episode helped you even a little, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, Voice of Heavenly Tao, and tell us in the comments about your inner weather this week, where the fog rolled in, and where it finally cleared. Your support is what keeps the two of us walking. Having learned this far, if there is any error or any clumsiness in how I've shared it, I humbly ask the wise ones and all the awakened ones before us for their compassion and their correction. Thank you, friends. We'll meet again next time.
Gratitude for the grace of heaven and virtue of teachers. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.